Hi everyone, and welcome back to the studio. So this is the Sunburst granny square video tutorial. As with yesterday's tutorial, you can use this for anything, but this also does go along with the granny square blanket pattern I have up on my Etsy. But again, it's not necessary to use this for a blanket, to use this pattern for a blanket. So what you'll need for this video is your yarn. This is Caron 1-pound yarn in Succulent. You'll need your hook. This is a 5mm hook. I don't know why it's not focusing, but this is a 5mm hook. You will need scissors, stitch marker. I always keep my stitch markers on the scissor or whatever stitch marker I'm using. I keep it on the scissors that I'm using. And then you will also need a threading needle. Again, I keep it with the scissors. Okay, so for the Starburst granny square, we're starting off with a magic ring. And then you do the slip stitch with the magic ring and then chain 1. And then now we're going to do 16 double crochets into the magic ring. So this is my first one, and before I continue any further, I'm grabbing the stitch marker and then putting it into this first stitch. Now, if you are good at keeping track of your stitches and your stitch count, you don't have to use a stitch marker. I just recommend using one because it's really easy to lose track of where that first stitch is, especially with a granny square where you have, for the first 2 rounds at least, there's 2 to 3 rounds, you have like an initial chain, however many, chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, that does not count as the first stitch. And then having the stitch marker in that first stitch helps to just keep track of what is the first stitch versus the chain 1 or chain 2 or chain 3. And I also recommend using a different color stitch marker to your yarn, just because it's a little bit just easier to see, easier to keep track of. As I said, we are doing 16 double crochets and I've done 2 now. So I'll meet you back here once I get to 16. I'm not quite at 16, but something else I wanted to mention was that there are Starburst granny square patterns out there that are for multiple colors where each row is a different color or a different yarn. This tutorial, this pattern is not one of those. Let me just count real quick. 13, 14, 17. So as I was saying, this pattern is not one of those. This is for a single yarn / single color Sunburst granny square. And I say single yarn usually over single color, just because sometimes if you're using a variegated yarn, it's already multicolored and you don't have to worry about yarn changes. Whereas like if you're using multiple different types of variegated yarn, multicolored yarn, then yeah, that would be a situation where you would need to yarn change. So that's just the verbiage that I use. Anyway, let me recount. I think it was 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yep, 14. And again, it's 16 double crochets, and this is my 16th one. So now we're going to tighten it, get the hook back in here. And if you ever need to stop crocheting, stop using the hook, whether it's to tighten your magic ring or magic circle or move the stitch marker or whatever it is, pull up your loop high, because like if you're tugging at it or if it gets tugged, it's not going to unravel. And another little tip, which I'll share in a moment actually, but let's do the slip stitch. Again, this is why I recommend, at least for granny squares, having a stitch marker in that first stitch, because now I know that the slip stitch is going into that chain 1 and not the first stitch. So now I'm going to chain once again to start round 2. And for round 2, we're going to be doing 15 puff stitches, 15 chain 1s after the puff stitches, and then a 16th puff stitch at the end without the chain 1 afterwards. So this is going to be the first puff stitch, 1. And for the puff stitch, you're going to yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, and you're going to do that 3 times into the same stitch. So yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, and I've already done it 3 times. Okay, so let's not do that quite away. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 2 separate. 3, 4, 5, 6. You should have 7 loops on your hook, and then you're going to yarn over and then pull through all 7. And that first puff stitch of round 2 can get a little bit awkward, but just remember, keep putting it into that first stitch of the first round. again, it's why you want the stitch marker into that first stitch, so you know where it is and you know where to put it correctly. So I just chained one, and I mentioned giving a tip earlier, and that tip is what I gave yesterday as well for the single color circle granny square yarn, the single yarn. If you need to pause at all during your project because you need to go do something, or you need to go out and can't bring your project with you, pull up your loop wide and long, and then you're going to stick your stitch marker into the loop. And then that way, if for whatever reason gets tugged on, you're not going to lose your place. It's not going to start undoing. Okay, like I said, we're going to be doing 15 puff stitches and 15 chain ones plus a 16th puff stitch at the end. Yarn over once, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over once, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over once, insert hook, pull up the loop. And then again, you should have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that was yarn over, pull through all 7 loops on your hook, yarn over, chain 1. So I'm having to redo the second puff stitch because it was acting a little weird, but I figured why not show it again. So yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert hook, pull. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop. And you should have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That should be 7. And again, you do the yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop. You do that 3 times to get the 7 loops on your hook. And chain 1. Okay. And it will tug a little bit on the previous stitches, and that is okay. So do the chain 1, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop. And something that might also help to keep the loops from being less tight is if after you pull up the loop, so let's see if I can show you, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop. So just wiggle your hook around just to loosen it up a little bit. You don't want it super loose, but you want it on the looser side just so it's a little bit easier to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Before I get to the 15th stitch, I wanted to show how to do a color change for this round if you have to do it mid-round. And with this, I am doing color specifically. As I said at the beginning of the video, there are tutorials out there, video tutorials out there on how to do the Sunburst granny square with different colored rounds. With like, this was green, this one's green, this one's white, like how to do the individual rounds as different colors. But this is just to do a yarn change mid-round. I'm not doing this yet just because I still have this full thing to get through. But if you run out of yarn and need to start another round or start another thing of yarn mid-round, this is how you do it. For this round, it's best to do it into the chain 1 because trying to do it into one of the puff stitches will get a little bit complicated, especially with 7 loops on the yarn. So again, you're going to go into that chain 1 space where this loop is coming from, and you want to make sure you have the loop out far enough so that it doesn't come undone. And then you loop your new yarn around. It doesn't have to be a different color. And then hold that tail, that new tail back, and then continue as usual. So another puff stitch, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop. And you should have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then pull up through all 7, yarn up, yarn over, and then pull through all 7 loops. And then you continue as normal. And then with this, you would pull out the tail, you would cut it, and then pull out the tail yarn that connects to your other thing or whatever's remaining. And then you just will weave in that tail that's still attached here, and then you continue as normal. But I will be taking this one out since again I'm not changing yarn for this, and I will see you once I get to that 15th stitch. Okay, so I have done the 15th stitch, and I know before I said like keeping track of like that first stitch in your round, that's why you put the stitch marker in. For me at least with this granny square, I have gotten used to the fact that this is the chain and then this is the top of that first puff stitch, so that first stitch is technically right there. Actually, let me put the stitch marker in it. But as I said, I did get used to knowing where it was and kind of seeing where it was. But that's the chain, and this is the top of the puff stitch. So when we do a slip stitch, it'll be into here. But I've done the 15th puff stitch. I'm going to do the 15th chain, 1, and then I'm going to do a 16th puff stitch. So yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop. I'm going to do that 3 times to get 7 loops. 4, 5, 6, 7 onto your hook. Oop, stay. And then you pull through all 7, and I don't do a 16th chain for this because since this first chain 1, when I do the slip stitch, that initial chain 1 to start off the row acts as the chain 1 space between these 2 puff stitches, and then I don't need to worry about that. And now I'm going to chain 4, yarn over twice. We're going to treble 3 together, treble crochet 3 together. And this does count as our first treble stitch, but we are treble crocheting 3 together. So yarn over twice, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now for a regular treble stitch, we would have done yarn over, pull through 2 3 times, but we are treble crocheting 3 together, so we're not doing that 3rd time. Yarn over twice, insert hook into that same space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're doing that 1 more time. Yarn over twice, pull up, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So this is treble crocheting 3 together plus that initial chain 4 that we did. So yarn over, pull through 4 loops, yarn over, chain 1, yarn over, chain 2. And then we are going to have 6, kind of similar to the previous round, it'll be 16 of these cluster stitches and then 15 chain 2 spaces. But now for the other 15 cluster stitches, we'll be treble crocheting 4 together. So yarn over twice, insert hook into the chain 1 space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're going to do that 3 more times. Yarn over twice, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. 2 more times, yarn over twice, insert hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. And now we're doing it 1 more time. Yarn over twice, insert hook, and we're doing this all into that chain 1 space of the previous round. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you should end up with 5 loops still on your hook. So yarn over once, pull through all 5, and then chain 2. So we're going to do this 14 more times to get to 16 of the cluster stitches, and then the chain 2 13 more times to get to 15 chain 2 spaces. And I will meet you again at the 15th cluster stitch. And if you need to rewatch that, feel free to rewatch it as many times as you need. And I'll also probably do it 1 more time with the 16th cluster stitch. Actually, before I get any further, let's do a yarn change. And again, it'll probably be easiest to do it into one of the chain 2s, one of the chains you make in the chain spaces. So let's put the hook into that space that your loop is coming out of. Grab tail for the white just so you can see the differentiation. And just like before, you're just going to pull up a loop. So yarn over twice, and then you continue as normal. Yarn over twice. The white does look really bright because the green is kind of less saturated. Ooh, I did not pull that all the way through, so let's do that real quick. Okay. I think this will be the third time. Yep. So one more. But the white looks really bright because the green isn't super bright. So yarn over, pull through all 5, and then chain 2. Okay, I'm not being too perfect with this white because I'm not keeping it there, and then I would continue as normal if I were keeping the white there. But like I said, I'll see you at the 15th cluster stitch in the green. Okay, so I've done the 15th cluster stitch, the 15th chain 2, and then now it's the 16th cluster stitch. So yarn over twice, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then you do that 4 times. Okay, so one more time. And again, you want 5 loops left on your hook, which is what I have. So yarn over, pull through all 5, and then you slip stitch into that first chain 4, and then chain 4 again. And it's okay if it curls a little bit, that's natural, and it'll fix itself once you start doing the sides. Again, we're chaining 4, yarn over twice, and then now we're doing 2 more full treble stitches into this space. So yarn over twice, pull up a loop, yarn over twice, pull through 2, or yarn over once, pull through 2, yarn over once, pull through 2, and one more, yarn over once, pull through 2. Okay, so one more treble stitch. So yarn over twice, insert hook, pull up a loop, and all into the same space. Yarn over once, pull through 2, yarn over once, pull through 2, yarn over once, pull through 2. Now we have 3 treble crochets here. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then into the same space again, 3 more treble stitches. So yarn over twice, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over twice, insert hook into that same space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Once more, yarn over twice, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you have your first corner. And then now we're going to do the first side together. Yarn over once, we're going to do 3 double crochets into this space. Insert hook, pull up a loop. So I did the first double crochet into the space. We're doing 2 more, so yarn over once, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and again it's 3 into that same space. And then into the next space, it's 3 half double crochets. So yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. And you do that 3 times again. So yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. In this space, we're doing 3 double crochets. So yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, through 2. 2 more, yarn over, insert, pull up, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, insert, pull up, yarn over, insert, through 2, yarn over, through 2. And then in this space, all into this next space, 3 treble crochets, chain 3, 3 treble crochets, all into the same space to create the second corner. Yarn over twice, insert, pull up, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, through 2, yarn over twice, insert, pull up, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, through 2. Okay, chain 3, so it's 3 treble crochets, chain 3, and then 3 more treble crochets. Okay, so you are going, for the next 3 sides, you are going to repeat from here on. So 3 double crochets, 3 half double, 3 double, 3 treble, chain 3, 3 treble, 3 double, 3 half double, 3 double, 3 treble, chain 3, 3 treble, 3 double, 3 half double, 3 double. And then you're going to do a slip stitch into the corner. I'm not going to do a yarn change for this round because you can see how to, it's like, I'm not going to show how to do a yarn change for this round because it's basically the same as the previous rounds, and you can also see that in yesterday's video with how to do a yarn change into the double crochets. For the circle granny square, you can see it's the same process for any yarn change, color change. So I'll meet you when I get to here, this side. Okay, so I'm working on the half double crochet stitches of the last side, and I'm about to move on to double crochets, loop right into the chain 2 space, 1, 2, oop, 1, okay, so now what we are going to do is slip stitch into this first chain, pull up a loop kind of tall. We don't want it super long because we don't want to waste any yarn, but we also want it long enough to kind of reach both sides of the corner. And then what we are going to do, if I don't need the white, is cut kind of in the middle point. And then we're going to pull out our threading needle, pull out that working yarn, the yarn that we worked with, set it aside. And now, halfway or in between each of the stitches, okay, and you're kind of going from bottom top. Okay, sorry, that wasn't focused. Bottom, top. And I'm going to do this top side, this first side first. Pull through, and we're weaving in this corner, and doing it this way just kind of helps to secure it a little bit more, especially if you're doing this for a blanket. And when you're weaving the squares together, you just want to make sure it's as secure as possible. Okay, and I'm not going to cut this off again just for security's sake when weaving in the squares together. Okay, so now we are weaving in this tail end for the circle part, again, security purposes. And I just stick the threading needle in first because sometimes if I stick the yarn in first into the needle and then stick the needle in where it's going, sometimes I lose the yarn. So now I'm just going to pull through. There we go. I'm going to stick the threading needle in there, stick scissors back in, again keeping everything together so I don't lose anything. And again, for security purposes, for here at least, for the center part, I'm going to do like a double, I don't know if I'm going to do a triple knot, we'll see, but I usually do a double or triple knot just to secure it. And I'm not cutting this yet, just so I know which side's the back and which is the front. But that is your Sunburst granny square. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any tips or tricks for how to do this that might help others who are getting into crocheting or doing this pattern for the first time, please feel free to leave those comments down below. I will also be having a weaving granny squares together and bordering granny square blankets coming up in a day or two, so stay tuned for that as well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.